Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. For the longest time I've wanted to make a channel full of videos about political issues and just politics in general. I've always found it very interesting and I love understanding and learning about political issues. I feel like not enough people, especially in my social circle, find politics very interesting or are able to understand why certain laws are made or passed and why certain political issues are being talked about in various times. And I love learning about it so that I can educate other people about it, and I feel that I become more educated also. But for the longest time, I've never had any kind of push to make these kinds of videos up until Charlie Kirk's assassination, which hit me pretty hard. I was in shock when I saw the news. So was my mother as well. My mum, just like me, enjoyed watching Charlie Kirk, and I think it shocked us both to quite a degree. You know, me and my mum hold very, very similar beliefs, and therefore we both didn't always agree with things that Charlie said, but we admired him for who he was as a person. And even if you disagreed with Charlie, a sane and just mature person would always say that Charlie was just a decent and kind person, a decent human being. That's all he ever was. He never said anything hateful or racist or homophobic. He just didn't. People say that he did, but you can go back and watch his videos, go back and see his tweets that he made or any kind of post on social media, and there's actually nothing hateful in there or homophobic or racist. If you take things out of context, then you can bend it to be that way, but the man himself, he just wasn't any of those things. And there are so many people out there that are currently losing their jobs or making posts on social media because they've taken his tweets or a clip from one of his talks out of context, or maybe one of his videos has been cut in a very certain way to make it look like he was saying something hateful, when in actuality he just wasn't. He never was. At the end of the day, he was just a kind and decent person who was just fighting for something that he believed in. And you can very easily disagree with things that he said. Doesn't mean that you have to fall out with him. Doesn't mean that you have to hate him. And it certainly doesn't mean that he deserved to die. He didn't. That's just a fact. He just didn't deserve to die. And I respected him as a person. I respected him as a debater. I think debate is very important. I think conversation is very important. Much like what Charlie said, is that the moment we stop talking, things tend to go wrong. And that's all he ever wanted to do, was talk. That was it. Just talk. Now, if that meant that he could, you know, potentially sway people to his way of thinking or to his side of the political aisle, then that would be a win, of course. You know, that's what politics is it's to and fro between the left and the right. But, you know, you're not always going to be able to convince everybody, and that's fine, you know. If we all agreed, the world would be boring. But I always admired him for the way that he talked to people and opened up conversations with people. And I don't want to get into too much of the aftermath of what has now happened and what things are now stirring in this video, in the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's assassination, because I think that's meant for another video. But just for this video, I think it's just simply a message that, you know, he was a decent man. And even outside of anything that he did socially, where he talked to people and his political opinions and his religious beliefs, there was a kind and loving husband and father. And if there's one photo that tears me up the most, it is a photo of him with his wife and his 2 children. And it almost looks like a Christmas photo in the way, the kind of photo that you'd send to family on a Christmas card. And it was just the embodiment of that loving nuclear family. And you can see the happiness on his face, his wife's face, and his children's faces. And that photo in particular hits hardest, because that dream, that image is now destroyed. It's gone. And I can't imagine the world of hurt that his wife and children are now going through. His children have now got to grow up without a father, and his wife has now got to continue without a husband. And that's probably the most sickening thing out of all of this. The left think that they have removed a political opponent, when in actuality what they've done is they've killed a husband and a father, a loving husband and a father. And for what? Words. There are so many people on the right that are not as sympathetic or kind as Charlie. There's people on the left that are not as sympathetic and as kind as Charlie was. But he was the person who wanted to just sit you down and have a conversation and talk to you. That was it. That's all he wanted to do. And the left murdered him for it. If we could have one spokesperson for the right-leaning side of the political aisle, it was Charlie. The left murdered the person who just wanted to sit down and talk to them, whether you agreed with him or not. And they murdered him for it. We've just lost the one person who would probably genuinely give you the time of day to sit down and listen to you and talk to you. And now he's gone. And because he's gone, we're now facing a world where people are becoming more and more angry, more and more just emotional in general, and losing people like Charlie, and losing people especially like the Ukrainian girl, Irina, I think her name was. I do apologize if that name is wrong. Having her murdered on the subway as well. Things like this is what radicalizes people. This is what pushes people to the extreme. Charlie, at least, was the person who could tell people on the same political aisle as him to maybe calm down and, you know, don't do that. Don't react in an aggressive way or an emotional way. We need to talk. That's all we need to do is just talk. And now he's gone. I feel like we've lost that person who was the brace that was holding a lot of emotion back and a lot of aggravation back. And now he's gone. I fear for what may happen now. We've seen the recent protests here in England, the very large march that happened on September 13th down in London that was fronted by Tommy Robinson and the former SAS soldier Ant Middleton. That protest at least was peaceful. You know, nothing really happened. There was no, you know, I had visions of them marching up to Parliament and and things really kicking off, but it actually didn't. And I think that means something as well. If there's one thing you'll have to notice, it's that since Charlie Kirk's assassination, there's been no violent protests. There's been no murders. There's been no disrupt of the world. People have just mourned and gone on with their lives. But when anybody has died on the left side of the aisle, there's been protests. Buildings have been burnt. Cars have been trashed. People have been beaten. There's been civil unrest. And I think that's the big difference between the right and the left, is that when you hit out at us who think more right-leaning, we don't react the same way that you do on the left. I think that speaks volumes. I really think it does. People very easily could act out of anger right now because of what's happened. I'm sure there's a lot of people that want to. But luckily there's people out there that think like Charlie, who think we don't need to act that way. We still need to just talk. As hard as it now is to talk, I think that's important. But I'm going to go into more about the aftermath in another video. But for now, I'll simply say this. What happened very obviously should not have happened. And to Charlie, I'm going to miss you. I am. And to Charlie's wife and his children, I'm so sorry. I really am. I can't imagine what you're going through. But I know for a fact that you've got all the support in the world helping you through this. The world was better with Charlie in it. And we've lost someone truly kind. We really have. And that's all I've got to say. Thank you for watching, for anybody who watched all of this. If you did like the video, give me a like. And if you disliked the video, which is absolutely fine, then give it a dislike. Subscribe for more. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Please stay safe.